Let's talk winners and losers of the trade deadline, and I want to start off with the losers because this particular team I'm going to talk about, the Chicago Bulls, their ownership and their front office, the combination of the two, no matter how you slice the blame pie, it's just all-time levels of delusion and not accepting the reality with your team and the team building process. They should have been sellers at this trade deadline. Andre Drummond should not be a Chicago Bull. Alex Caruso should not be a Chicago Bull. DeMar DeRozan, an expiring, teams were interested in him per reports, should not be a Chicago Bull. It's just absolute fucking lunacy what this Bulls front office is doing, thinking that they can compete and move up in the standings in the Eastern Conference. It's just all-time levels of delusion. I saw an insane stat today, and I think I've seen it before, but I was just reminded of it today. The Bulls have not made a trade or an acquisition involving a player since August of 2021. Since August of 2021. Fucking delusion. I feel bad for Chicago Bulls fans. I really thought that the Bulls upgraded from Garpax, but this front office legitimately might be worse than Garpax. They are currently the 9th seed. They are 3 games behind the Orlando Magic for the 8th seed, and I don't think the Bulls are moving up any higher. Instead of just letting the young guys roam free with Kobe White, Patrick Williams, even though he's still been underwhelming but has been better the last few months. Ayo Dosunmu's been good this year. Instead of just using this as a season to evaluate the young guys and sell off players to get assets, the Bulls really think they can still compete in the East. And now next year, Alex Caruso's value is going to be less. Andre Drummond is going to walk for nothing probably this summer, unless the Bulls decide to bring him back, which would just be another instance of malpractice in the team building process. And then not trading DeRozan, just fucking lunacy. It's lunacy. I know a lot of Bulls fans feel that way. If there are some that are still somehow defending this, God bless you. I'm not even going to bother arguing with you in the comments. But this is insane. The Bulls are absolutely losers of this deadline. They are probably the biggest losers of this trade deadline, just for not accepting reality. We'll go to one winner, just to balance it out. The Dallas Mavericks. I like what the Mavericks did at this trade deadline. Even though early in the season I thought Grant Williams was panning out already pretty well, he had been struggling and doing the annual Grant Williams thing where he just goes through a massive shooting slump, makes really just puzzling decisions on the court. But getting PJ Washington for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a first-round pick, that was a good move. Now, hopefully, PJ Washington can lock back in defensively. The interior defense is something I'm concerned about, but on the ball, at least he has the tools. Shooting-wise, he's shooting bad the last few years. He's shooting 32% this year and 34% from 3 last year. But overall in his career, he's a 36% three-point shooter. So you hope that kind of comes back. But he's athletic, somebody that's versatile, switchable, has played small ball 5, and definitely somebody that could play off Luka. And then trading Richaun Holmes and a first-round pick to the Washington Wizards for Daniel Gafford, who is an underrated big, will play hard, a lob threat, somebody that will protect the rim, an underrated rim protector. Even on Washington, it was apparent he was an underrated rim protector. That is somebody that will back up Derek Lively nicely, somebody that will get minutes, and obviously somebody who will play off Luka. So the 2 moves the Mavs made at the trade deadline, I really like. Then we go to another loser, unfortunately, and I'm sure I'll have maybe a day or two to rethink this, but I think the Philadelphia 76ers are losers at this trade deadline. The trade deadline for the Sixers went from like a B to like a D- really quickly. Getting Buddy Hield, I did a video on that earlier. I liked that move. But then you trade away Daniel House and a second-round pick to the Pistons to essentially free up a roster spot and duck the luxury tax. And then you trade away Patrick Beverley to the Milwaukee Bucks for Cam Payne and a second-round pick. I actually thought Patrick Beverley played really well for the Sixers. Even though he shot like 30% from three, he was somebody that could fight over a screen, gave good point-of-attack defense, was a solid rebounder on a team that now desperately needs rebounding. And then you get Cam Payne, who is inconsistent. I know he shot 39% from three with the Bucks, but just not a good defender, not a good decision maker. I'm just not a fan of Cam Payne. He had that one good season in Phoenix, and then he had that ankle injury, and then just hadn't been the same player since. And my thinking is they better get Kyle Lowry, because if they traded Pat Beverley just for a second-round pick and Cam Payne, there is no way this team is going to tread water. And then on top of that, you trade your best point-of-attack defender in Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics for a second-round pick. And I hate that move for a litany of reasons. Yes, I know Jaden Springer is a horrible offensive player, but my whole thing is, you drafted this guy first. You drafted this guy with a first-round pick 2.5 years ago. Didn't give him ample playing time. Now, look, a lot of that was because Doc Rivers was the head coach, and he notoriously hates young players. Just ask Andre Jackson and Marshawn Beauchamp. But you didn't even spend time developing him offensively. And then on a team that needs point-of-attack defense desperately, somebody that can guard up a position too, you trade him to your rival who will develop players nicely. All to duck the luxury tax and all to free up roster space for buyout options that are not going to be here in the offseason. My only guess is Daryl Morey's really trying to go through with this cap space plan, which I have illustrated on this channel before as a fucking farce. If he really thinks he's going to get Paul George, and Paul George is in a Sixer uniform, I will eat one of those hot chips or whatever. You know how you can order like one chip that's like super insanely hot? I will eat one of those if Paul George is a Philadelphia 76er, because there is no way this cap space plan is viable. Now, I understand you're going to get 5 first-round picks by the summer, like you'll be able to trade up to 5 first-round picks, but that plan is so dicey and so risky. You better get that third star you're looking for, because if it doesn't work, I don't even want to think about what would happen if it didn't work. I like the Buddy Hield deal, hated the subsequent moves. You still don't have a backup center or a big that's better than Mo Bamba. You still need ball handling and shot creation. This team is not going to tread water while Joel Embiid is out. I just don't see how they can, because it looked like they got worse too. So the Sixers, losers at the trade deadline, made one good move, then made a couple of moves that maybe got some second-round picks back, but they took 2 steps back on the roster. Don't know what it's going to look like when Embiid comes back. If he comes back, I don't even know if the team knows if he's going to come back, because the moves that were made after the Buddy Hield trade kind of illustrates a team that doesn't know when Embiid's coming back. And then winners really quickly. I talked about them in separate videos, but the Knicks once again just making some savvy moves without giving up any first-round picks, adding much-needed shooting and a little bit of shot creation with Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. And yeah, I know they played on the Pistons. The Pistons are bad, but at least Bojan, at the very least, was one of the best shooters in the NBA, one of few players in the league to average 20 points while shooting 40% from three. And that's just something the Knicks can use, playing off of Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, etc. And also getting Alec Burks to kind of solidify that bench a little bit. I thought the Knicks just made savvy moves this trade deadline, and they're big winners. And then the other winner I have is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I like the Gordon Hayward move. Now, of course, he needs to be healthy, but if you're just talking about filling in the gaps between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren and Lou Dort, Gordon Hayward is a nice little upgrade over Josh Giddey, because Josh Giddey has not played well this year. has not shot the ball well this year, and Gordon Hayward can provide all of that stuff. He's just a better offensive player than Josh Giddey, even though he's not the same defender. There were a few middle of the road, puzzling, but not necessarily categorized as losers, like the Raptors, for example. I don't think the Warriors were a loser because I just didn't see a move out there that the Warriors could make that would be an upgrade or anything less than a lateral move. I didn't think there was anything out there for the Lakers. I thought the Hawks, it was more likely they were going to keep DeJounte Murray. It just felt like there was too much DeJounte Murray's going to be gone, DeJounte Murray's going to be gone for the Hawks to actually make a deal, if that makes sense. I just didn't feel like a move was going to happen. But those are my winners and losers. Not the trade deadline we were all expecting. It was actually kind of underwhelming compared to most trade deadlines. All the big names on the market were traded earlier in the year with Siakam, Anunoby, etc. But teams did improve, teams did make some moves, and there were absolutely some fucking losers from teams that made moves, and one team in particular that is just delusional.